Well, the cat's out of the bag. Apparently, the U.S. Treasury Department got hacked by Chinese state-sponsored hackers this month, December, on the 8th. That's when they were notified about the breach. Essentially, they have a cybersecurity service provider called Beyond Trust, and the hackers compromised that service provider, and we were able to access unclassified documents according to a letter that was sent to lawmakers from the Treasury Department. Essentially, what the letter said was that hackers gained access to a key used by the vendor to secure a cloud-based service used to remotely provide technical support for Treasury Departmental offices and users. With access to the stolen key, the threat actor was able to override the service's security, remotely access certain Treasury Departmental office user workstations, and access certain unclassified documents maintained by those users. Now, who knows what unclassified documents were compromised? Now, the good thing is that usually, in regards to national security, if it could potentially impact national security, it usually ends up getting classified as at least secret, not unclassified. So just to give you a brief overview of what classification levels there are for documents in the United States anyway, you've got three different kinds other than unclassified. You've got confidential, secret, and top secret. Now, confidential classification means that it's defined as information that could damage national security if publicly disclosed without the proper authorization. Now, secret is the second highest classification, and it's classified as secret when its unauthorized disclosure could cause serious damage to national security. And then things that are classified as top secret, they classify it that way because the unauthorized disclosure of it could reasonably be expected to cause exceptionally grave damage to national security. So things that are considered unclassified, the reason why they classify them as unclassified is because they don't believe that it could damage national security. So it may have just been like some arbitrary stuff that they found, like basic things, not any like account numbers or numbers pertaining to financial transactions. None of that stuff would probably be involved in it. And because they're saying that they were able to access unclassified documents at their workstations, it's probably stuff that's relatively benign. At least that would be my hope. But depends on if the people that had those office workstations were classifying things properly and not storing the wrong classification level on their unclassified computers, because it's likely that the unclassed computers are on a different network and in different offices probably than the classified computers, or the computers that have any type of confidential, secret, or top secret information on them. So that's the good thing, because they segregate stuff so that way it lessens the likelihood that if one gets compromised, they all get compromised, right? Now, the Treasury Department said that the breach happened and they were alerted by the breach by Beyond Trust on December 8th, and that they were working with U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency and the FBI to assess the hack's impact. They didn't immediately say exactly how significant it was when they were asked by various sources, but I'm sure that that information will be divulged probably within the next month here. At the same time, a spokesman for the Chinese embassy in Washington rejected any responsibility for the hack, saying that Beijing, quote, firmly opposes the U.S. smears attacks against China without any factual basis. Now, a lot of threat researchers that work with cybersecurity companies have said that this type of security incident fits a well-documented pattern of operations by the People's Republic of China linked groups. They kind of like work unofficially with them, if that makes sense. And they focus on abusing trusted third-party services, and it's like a method that's been pretty increasingly common to see. Now, the company Beyond Trust said that no other Beyond Trust products were involved other than the software that was targeted on the 8th of December. Now, I'm not a cybersecurity professional, but a lot of the cybersecurity experts that have been coming out talking about this thing say that the reason why they attributed it to a Chinese state-sponsored advanced persistent threat actor is because they have a lot of indicators that point them in that direction based on previous attempts that have happened in similar institutions. And one specific example of this is a Chinese hacking group called Salt Typhoon, which hacked a bunch of U.S. telecom companies recently as well. Now, there's actually a video on Salt Typhoon that'll give you a little bit more of an idea of like what kinds of things they're trying to do as far as like these hacking organizations and like what their goals kind of are. Let's give that a listen
infiltrated at least 8 American telecommunication companies, and that none of them have managed to remove these Chinese hackers from their systems. Nick Schifrin has been following this all and joins us now. So, Nick, what did the White House say today?
The White House gave new details on what is believed to be the largest hack on American telecommunications firms in U.S. history. As you said, Chinese hackers infiltrated at least 8 communications firms in the United States, and over the last 1 to 2 years, quote, dozens of telecommunications companies across Asia and Europe, and the hack was ongoing. Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology, Ann Neuberger, said today.
The affected companies are all responding. Right now, we do not believe any have fully removed the Chinese actors from these networks. So there is a risk of ongoing compromises to communications. Until U.S. companies address the cybersecurity gaps, the Chinese are likely to maintain their access.
Today, intelligence officials were on the Hill briefing all 100 senators in a classified hearing about the Chinese hackers known as Salt Typhoon. And our Lisa Desjardins caught up with Texas Republican John Cornyn.
The Chinese Communist Party has infiltrated the telecommunication systems here in the United States in a dramatic and unprecedented sort of way. And it's a subject of tremendous concern. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it. Because it affects a lot of people, and a lot of, not just in this country, but around the world.
Yesterday, Jeff, a senior FBI official had...
Like, the implications of the fact that the Chinese Communist Party or the People's Republic of China could have, or even affiliates that are not necessarily directly related, but are kind of like unofficially working for the Chinese government, hacking telecommunication systems, like the opportunities for so much data collection there is astounding, because if they can track and listen to phone calls, if they can intercept faxes, if they can intercept emails, if they can track any type of traffic that's digitally sent back and forth between individuals, that could pose a significant risk. Now, I do think that it's less likely that they're able to hack, secret lines as opposed to unclassified lines, if they're able to look at that kind of stuff or see that stuff. Just because, like I said, it's completely segregated on totally separate networks, and the public doesn't have access to that stuff. So the stuff that could potentially damage national security, at least, is physically separate from the common network that everybody else is able to access. That being said, there's all kinds of spillage that could happen where you've got things that should be classified at a higher level that are not classified at a higher level that are being passed around by people, and that could potentially result in damage. So anyway, let's keep listening.
Admitted the Bureau still did not know how deeply the Chinese hackers had penetrated, even though the Bureau had been investigating since the spring, and it could take years to know the true scope of the hack.
Do we know, though, who has been targeted?
Intelligence officials described 3 baskets, or 3 groups of targets, essentially. Number 1, a large number of users whose phone metadata was stolen. Number 2, a small group of individuals whose audio calls and text messages were specifically targeted and successfully intercepted. Number 3, the portal that law enforcement uses to submit court orders to telecommunications and internet service providers. And I want to keep that list up for the moment. On the first group, whose metadata was stolen, a senior administration official said today it was, quote, a large number of Americans, but would not provide the number, but it had a, quote, regional focus suggesting.
Wait, hold on. They wouldn't provide the number. Why not? Is it so high that they're like, yeah, we can't have that? Texts, call audio from small number of individuals. Well, they say small. Well, how small is small? You don't see any numbers from this. That's the thing that's concerning about this.
Suggesting it was designed to find members of the second group whose calls were intercepted and included senior members of the Trump and Harris campaigns. A former intelligence official described to me, Jeff, that this is so hard because these are incredibly sophisticated state actors with limitless budget and limitless time. They are extraordinarily difficult to detect because they enter networks with stolen credentials so as not to set off alarm bells. And if they detect any surveillance by the Americans, they simply stop moving. They can sit there and take as long as it takes, therefore avoiding detection.
And how has China responded to all of this?
In a statement, Chinese embassy spokesman Liu Pengyu told me that the U.S. claims were, quote, disinformation. And he continued, quote, China firmly opposes and combats all kinds of cyber attacks. The U.S. needs to stop its own cyber attacks against other countries and refrain from using cybersecurity to smear and slander China. U.S., Jeff, is believed to conduct the same surveillance around the world, and I do use that term surveillance. U.S. officials use that term because this is not designed, as far as they can tell, to destroy any critical infrastructure. It is instead designed to conduct espionage, to collect information. No signs that any of this is being leaked online. As for solutions,
It doesn't seem to have signs that they're trying to cause damage. They're just trying to conduct espionage. So they're just trying to collect information. And, you know, obviously every organization on the planet that works for governments that is interested in intelligence gathering is interested in knowing what everyone else knows, because that's intelligence. That's valuable. You could learn a lot of stuff about yourself or what your adversaries or what your rivals or what your competitors could know. And I'm sure every country does that. I'm sure.
Neuberger said today the only solution was to require companies to meet minimum cybersecurity guidelines. Right now, those guidelines are optional for these companies to meet.
Well, so if you go on the Beyond Trust website, you can go and look at the Beyond Trust remote support SaaS service security investigation, because they're talking about the investigations on there. And they've got a few different updates. One was from 12/12/24, and they said, while the security incident forensics investigation remains ongoing, there are no material updates to provide at this time. We continue to pursue all possible paths as part of the forensic analysis with the assistance of external forensic parties to ensure we conduct as thorough an investigation as possible. We continue to communicate and work closely with all known affected customers. We will continue to provide updates here until our investigation is concluded. And then on the 16th of December, they said, we have proactively completed an update for our secure remote access cloud customers, fortifying the security of their solution overall. We are pursuing all possible paths as part of the forensic analysis, including our work with external forensic parties, to ensure we conduct as thorough an investigation as possible. We continue to communicate and work closely with all known affected customers, and we will provide updates here until our investigation is concluded. In addition, we're providing recommended resources. And then we go up. They said the next piece was also on the same day, the 16th. As part of our ongoing forensics investigation into the remote support SaaS incident, we identified a critical vulnerability within our remote support and privileged remote access products. As communicated in the 12/16 update, all cloud instances have been patched for this vulnerability. We have also released a patch for self-hosted versions. This update for all self-hosted versions is a non-disruptive patch pushed through the standard update feature of the product. There is no downtime associated with this patch, and it is being pushed to self-hosted remote support and privileged remote access customers. We are pursuing all possible paths as part of the forensic analysis, including our work with external forensic parties to ensure we conduct as thorough an investigation as possible. We continue to communicate and work closely with all known affected customers. We will provide updates here until our investigation is concluded. The last update on the 18th of December, they said, as a result of our ongoing investigation, we identified a medium severity vulnerability. Well, before they called it a critical vulnerability, and now they're calling it a medium severity vulnerability. So I wonder what changed. Within our remote support and privileged remote access products, both self-hosted and cloud. As communicated in the 12/16 a.m. update, all cloud instances have been patched for this vulnerability. We've also released a patch for self-hosted versions. We continue to, and then they say the same thing. So hopefully they fixed it. The last time it was updated was at 3:33 p.m. on the 18th of December, first published on the 8th when the incident occurred. So I'm glad that there's specialists out there that do this kind of stuff, because I wouldn't know where to begin. Wouldn't have a clue. So, but there's people that are trained for this, that have been training for years and years, and I'm glad that we have them, because those people are very valuable. If you ever want to go into cybersecurity, just know that you will always have job security.